Ever wake up after a night out and feel like you're acting in a personal horror movie, like you're filled with anxiety to the brim? The foggy brain, the racing thoughts, the "oh no, what did I say last night?" Yeah, we actually have a word for that, and it's hangxiety, hangover anxiety, or way cooler, boozanoia, and it's the worst. But you're not alone, and you're definitely not imagining it. In today's video, I want to take a look at the biological mechanisms of hangxiety, why it feels so intense, and most importantly, how you can manage it. So buckle up and let's dive into it. Believe it or not, and you will probably believe this because people study some pretty weirdly specific topics, there are studies that explore hangovers and anxiety. For example, one of these studies explored the relationship between depression, anxiety, and stress among hangover-sensitive and hangover-resistant drinkers. And hangover is sort of an umbrella term for a wide range of physical and mental symptoms which people experience after sobering up from alcohol. Like hangover is a mini withdrawal symptom, and you usually experience it after waking up from a night of drinking. Now, the majority of people, about 80%, experience some form of hangover, even though the intensity might differ. And about 20% of lucky ones don't really experience it, even though it's hard to say if they're really lucky. And so far, we don't really know why that happens, but it's suggested that at least part of it might be due to the inflammatory effects of alcohol and the way your immune system interacts with it, and also how fast you're capable of metabolizing alcohol. But in this video, I don't want to talk about hangover, I want to talk about hangxiety specifically, so I'll leave the hangover-related topics to another video. Emotion dysregulation and repetitive negative thoughts are pretty common symptoms of hangovers. Emotion dysregulation is a term that describes lack of awareness, clarity, and acceptance of emotions. And people who suffer from it might also suffer from other problems, such as difficulties of controlling impulsive behavior. And the chances that you will have anxiety are higher if you suffer from any other kind of anxiety, but it's not necessary to have regular anxiety to experience anxiety. And the levels of regret are not distributed equally among all nations. According to a global drug survey, there's an inverse relationship between the frequency of getting drunk and the regret. So people who get drunk more often have less regret. Among the pretty regretful drinkers are Argentinians, Colombians, and almost 30% of Australians regret getting drunk. On the other hand, Danes don't really regret it, even though, at least where I live, what they say is, when you get really drunk, they say, "Oh, you drink like a Dane." So it's good to know that they don't live in regret. Women also have more regrets than men, and people suffering from mental health issues also are more prone to anxiety and regrets. As always, biological mechanisms behind hangovers are complex. The human body, or any other body for that matter, is a complex machine. But let's take a look at a simplified version of what's happening to your body when you experience anxiety. First of all, there's a disruption to your neurological system. Alcohol interacts with several systems in your brains, such as the GABA system and the glutamate system. And GABA is a neurotransmitter that has one job, and its job is to calm you down. It slows down the activity of your brain and helps you relax. Glutamate, on the other hand, has a very different job, and its job is to excite you. It's an excitatory neurotransmitter, one that helps you stay awake and make memories. Blocking glutamate will eventually lead to sedation and amnesia, and even loss of consciousness, and it's actually one of the mechanisms we use for anesthesia nowadays. These two neurotransmitters are in a delicate balance and should be balanced out, and alcohol unfortunately disrupts this balance. When you drink, glutamate goes down and GABA goes up, which helps you relax while you drink. It will help you feel more comfortable and, let's say, brave in social situations. But your body finds it strange to have these levels of the neurotransmitters, so it tries to compensate. You know what happens if you have too much GABA? Your brain decreases the production because it's too much, and too much of a good thing is a bad thing. Too bad GABA is actually the thing that helps you calm down. With low GABA and high glutamate, you will probably feel pretty alert and nervous. Another culprit might be cortisol, which you probably know as the stress hormone. and corticotropin releasing factor receptors are responsible for releasing cortisol. And you can't actually modify these systems on humans because that wouldn't pass the ethical committee, but you can do it on mice. So on mice that had these CRF receptors blocked, their anxiety was significantly reduced. And cortisol also affects the way your body absorbs glucose, so your blood sugar levels are all over the place after you sober up, which makes you feel alert and stressed as well. Plus, chronic drinking leads to adaptations in your body, including changes in your receptor sensitivity, some of which are pretty permanent, and might increase your overall anxiety. And besides these more complex neurological reasons, there are some other reasons that are simpler. Because of the disrupted sleep that often follows a night of heavy drinking, you don't feel rested, and this state of physical uncomfort might cause anxiety in some people. The same goes for dehydration. So basically, when you're hungover, you're kind of like a helpless sim with all their stats red, and being physically uncomfortable might trigger your brain, whose only job is to keep you alive. Not happy, not necessarily, but alive. Your brain also interprets feedback from your body as symptoms of something. So, for example, if you have increased heart rate after drinking, which a lot of people do, it might be interpreted as symptoms of fear or anxiety. And apart from these biological reasons, there are also way simpler reasons why you might feel anxious. Because alcohol slowly makes you lose control, and if you drink too much, your memory might be a bit muddled. Did you really do something stupid? Did you really do that? Did you really say that? Not remembering if you did or if you did not might also make you feel stressed and anxious. And you might be scared okay, if I remember that, what else I don't remember? Did I really tell everyone my secret? And most people want to be liked, so the idea that you acted like an ass and how other people think bad things of you can be pretty stressful. Okay, so we've established that you feel like shit. You're uneasy and your brain is trying to remind you of every horrible thing you said the night before, and you want to get rid of this feeling ASAP. Is there anything you can do? Many people actually start with the good old bargaining strategy, the I'm never drinking again, and hey, if it makes you feel better, why not? But you know that you're probably not going to be sober, right? If you only want to give up alcohol when you suffer from its negative consequences, I don't think you're that strongly motivated to get sober, even though I mean, fingers crossed, go for it. But I think the one that needs to be convinced of being sober is the sober you, not the hungover you. The sober you is going to decide if you want to drink or not. But I'm not all big on the punishment thing. If you're really suffering and you cannot change anything by being mean to yourself, so my advice would be the complete opposite. Do things that make you feel good. Stay in bed or lie on the couch, find a fuzzy blanket, watch your favorite movie, play your favorite game, eat your favorite food. There's no reason to punish yourself, you're only going to suffer more. And you need to be kind to yourself. Gentle parenting. You need to take care of your physical needs because you're tired, you're hungry, you're dehydrated. Drinking something sweet like apple juice might help you feel better as you satisfy more of these needs. Eating something greasy could probably help you if your stomach is not too upset, and sleep if you can. But apart from drinking a lot of water or tea or eating your favorite food, you could also try exercising to sweat it out. If you don't feel that bad, you could also go to a sauna or take a hot bath. But if you feel like you're dying, I would advise against it. Being in a hot environment could make you faint, and that's the last thing we want. And by the way, fainting or slipping in a sauna and burning my face on the heater is a horrible fear of mine, and that haunts me every time I'm in a sauna. But mostly, you just need to wait it out. Your body needs time to recover. It just survived a commonly known poison and a carcinogen. If you were sick, you wouldn't make yourself do difficult things, right? So why do it when you're hungover? Technically you're sick, you've been poisoned. And ideally you want to stay away from fixing it with more alcohol. Because in the short term, alcohol would make you feel better probably, because it will stop the withdrawal, but it might make you feel worse in the long run, and this sort of behavior also increases your risk of becoming dependent. And in the long term, is there anything you can do to prevent anxiety? Well, of course, you could stop drinking, but I know that a lot of people are not really up for that. In that case, you could probably try at least reducing the amount of drinks you drink on one occasion. There's a lot of techniques to do that, and I might explore them in a different video. But it's a skill that can be learned, although not everyone succeeds. And if you struggle with keeping your drinking habit under control, consider talking to a professional. And sure, some professionals will want you to go completely sober, especially if you join a recovery program, but there are a lot of other people who are okay with training the controlled drinking thing. And a professional could also help you work through underlying problems you might have, although this takes time and energy and resources. It's probably going to cost a lot of money, so it's not accessible to everyone. But to be fair, if your anxiety is caused by you having a mental breakdown about every single detail in your life, you would probably benefit from a therapy. And if therapy is something that you cannot afford, don't stress too much about it. Do whatever you can, just small baby steps. You're not going to go from uncontrolled mess to the ideal you in a day. It's not only a matter of will. Your brain literally needs time to form new neuronal connections. It takes a while to learn new behavior patterns, so if you always give it your best shot, you add to that learning pattern at least a little bit, even if you fail. If you want a long-lasting, meaningful change, you will need to give yourself time to grow and learn. Don't expect magical results tomorrow. It's not something that you can force. And if you struggle with choosing a cozy minigame to play while you suffer, be it from hangover, public transport, or a really long and boring meeting, or an extra boring lecture, not that I condone that sort of behavior, of course, I made a game. And no, this is not a sponsored segment or anything. I sat down, programmed, and drew mushrooms and created a cozy little game. It's inspired by cottagecore aesthetic, warm, early fall forest and mushrooms. Not psychoactive mushrooms, just beautiful mushrooms you can find in the forest. It's a little relaxing puzzle game, and the people who played it so far pretty much loved it, and I will work on implementing their feedback to make them love it even more. Now that I published on both Apple and Android, I can focus on adding more features. Namely, I'd like to add a public leaderboard, a feature that many people requested, so that you could compare your scores to the ones of your friends and enemies. And if that sounds interesting to you, I'll put links to respective stores to the video description, and I'll be happy if you give it a try. Thanks for watching, see you next time!